Today on Ballistic BBQ, I'm going to be cooking up some orange ginger glazed barbecued baby back ribs on the ZGrills 700D3. Let's get going. So quick thank you to ZGrills for sponsoring this video. And before we start cooking, I'm going to give you a quick overview. So first impressions, I think this is a really nice looking cooker. It's got a great finish and I think the design looks good too. So the brand ZGrills, I don't think they're as well known as the top brands, but they were actually making grills for Traeger and some other of the well-known brands prior to kind of breaking out on their own and creating their own retail market. The 700D3 is a new cooker for 2022 and it features a PID control system. Now in layman's terms, a PID sensor is constantly monitoring the temperature of the cooker and it's feeding the amount of pellets that are needed to maintain a nice stable temperature. Cookers that do not have a PID, basically what happens is the cooker senses that it's dropped below the target temperature, and then it dumps a bunch of pellets in there, and usually that'll induce a spike in temperature, and then the cooker will stop feeding, so the temperature falls and eventually falls below, again, that target temp, so you end up with a less constant heat. So this creates a really nice, stable heat. The 700D has 697 square inches of cooking surface when you combine the main bottom grate with the top grate. The bottom grate's 504 square inches, top grate is 193 square inches. The top grate measures 26 inches wide by 7.4 inches deep. The main bottom grate is 26 inches wide by 19.4 inches deep. The overall width of this cooker is 48 inches and the height is 51 inches. So I'm digging on this cart. It's got two cupboard doors. It's on casters, two of the casters lock, 20-pound hopper, nice grease drain with a bucket, and something that was addressed due to customer requests, a pellet dump chute. The PID control systems display is very large, easy to read, you'll see that in a bit. Has two temperature probe jacks, and the probes are included with the purchase. Here's a temperature probe that monitors the temperature of the cooker. The cooker has a nice large grease tray, which is also a deflector, which is angled down towards that grease drain. Here's the actual heat deflector over the fire pot. And you can see it has a nice large fire pot. So just two quick things before we start cooking. One is the assembly of this. It took me a little over an hour to put together and I wasn't rushing, so assembly is very easy. And number two, I really dig on this chimney stack. It's not your typical, cone. Anyway, give me a couple minutes to set things up and then we'll fire the grill up for you. So there's some steps that need to be taken in the instruction manual to just assure that all the systems are working properly. I've already done that. So what I'm going to do now is what I'm going to call the burn-in. I'm going to open the lid. I covered that drip tray with foil just to help with the cleanup. You don't need to do that though, but I did. We're going to turn this on. Select smoke. So we can hear the fan now. The auger's turning and it's going to start feeding pellets into that fire pot. Okay, we can see some smoke coming out now. I'm going to leave the lid open, just let it do its business here for another minute or two. All right, we're going to close the lid now. On the dial, I'm going to turn it all the way to high. So we're going to leave this at the high setting for about 45 minutes now. And what we're doing is burning out any of those impurities that may have been left behind from the manufacturing of the cooker. I also want to point out that I did wash the grates with soap and water, as well as the grease pan. I wiped that off too, just because a lot of times you'll find, traces of oils and stuff left behind. Anyway, 45 minutes, we'll be ready to set the temperature and actually cook some ribs. In the meantime, let's go ahead and prep the ribs for the cook. And here's what we're cooking today, some baby back ribs. Came all prepared to peel the membrane off, but it's already been peeled off. It saved me a little time. We're just gonna season these now very simply. But first, we're gonna trim off any ragged ends that these ribs may have. So right here, I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this whole bone. It's pretty sharp, and as you can see, there's loose pieces of meat here. So good enough for backyard barbecue. Now we're going to season these very simply, and I'm using equal parts of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. I think I mixed this up it was another video I did a while back. I'm not going to use a binder today. Okay, this is looking good. Still waiting on the cooker to finish that burn in. Until then, let's go ahead and make that orange ginger glaze. Easy glaze, you're gonna love it. So one of the things that I really love to do when I'm coming up with a sauce is I like to use opposing flavors. So if I'm throwing something that's very sweet into the pot, I'll usually counter that with something that's either has some heat, something that's a little bit more savory, or something that's sour. And I think this glaze is a really good example of all of that. We're going to kick this off with some bitter orange juice. This is the brand I use for the bitter orange juice. I find this in the ethnic aisle of my grocery store, but if you can't find this, you can get it online. But just add some like lime juice to orange juice and it'll kind of make it a little bit more sour. I have here some orange marmalade. I also like this because it has the peels in there. Kaplunk. Pickling spice, soy sauce. Now initially I wanted to use fish sauce because I wanted that kind of savory, that umami flavor. I'm out of fish sauce, so I'm using soy sauce. It's fermented. It has the umami in there that I wanted. Some apple cider vinegar. I think acid is really necessary in a lot of sauces, especially when you're eating a rich fatty meat like pork. And I have here kosher salt, smoked paprika, and five spice, Chinese five spice, peeled and grated fresh ginger. If you can't find fresh ginger, just use the powdered stuff, it's fine. Okay, we'll get the heat on, get it stirred up. So now what I'm going to do is simply bring this up to a boil, then reduce the temperature, let it simmer until it gets that nice glazy texture that I'm looking for. And while I'm waiting for this glaze to finish up, I'm going to get this cooker ready and we're going to throw on the ribs. So I allowed the cooker to go through the burn-in, shut everything down, restarted everything, and now we're up to 250 degrees, rolling steady, ready to cook. So there's plenty of room in there. I probably could have added another 2 racks. What I'm going to do now is easy stuff. Just kind of let the ribs cook. I'll check them in about an hour or so. If they're looking dry, I'll spritz them with a little bit of water and continue checking them every 30, 40 minutes or so. I don't think I'm going to wrap these. I think I'm just going to let them go, and final hour we'll glaze them with the glaze. So I'll keep you guys updated. The ribs have been cooking for 1 hour. I have not opened the lid once. It's time to check them out and spritz them if they're getting a little dry. Looking good, looking good. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. You know what I'm gonna do? I don't need this rack for this cook. I'm gonna pull this rack off. All right, that'll make it a little easier. Let's go ahead and spritz these things with some, this is just water. All right, so I'll be checking these again in about 30 minutes. If they need some more spritzing, I'll give them some spritzing. I will not be applying the glaze until towards the end of this cook. Smelling good though. Okay, we are about 3.5 hours in now. The ribs are getting nice and tender. We're ready to glaze. So you're getting nice color. Bottom first. All right, so we're just going to continue cooking these. I want that glaze to tighten up. We're looking for a little bit more tenderness in the ribs and a little bit more pull back, and then we'll be done. So I'm guessing between 45 minutes to an hour, maybe. Okay, we're in at about 4 hours, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and these ribs are done. Let's check them out. Digging on the color, and they are tender. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off, let them rest a little bit, and give you guys a try. All right, and here they are, done, rested, ready to eat, smelling really good. Let's give these a try. Very tender. And there we are. And I have to tell you, for a pellet cooker, I'm really, really happy with that smoke ring. Very juicy, very tender. That citrus is really, really coming out here. I'm really happy with this glaze. I mean, it's sticky, it's not too sweet, but it definitely has an orange vibe going on. I mean, it tastes like orange. I mean, it's really, really good. It doesn't taste like candy or anything. As far as the cooker's concerned, very pleased. I was really impressed actually how stable it was setting. And for the price, I mean, you're looking at a couple $100 cheaper than, you know, the competition. So I will have links down below if you want to check them out. They got a huge lineup of grills, and like I said, I'm really, really happy with this. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. Make sure if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and if you like the video, thumb it up. I'll see you in the next video.